Hi, Kalidasa here. I want to talk to you a little bit today about enlightenment. I've done a couple of videos on mindfulness, self-awareness, and of course, self-awareness is what mindfulness is about. It's a very popular subject now, but what is the ultimate in self-awareness and mindfulness and knowing the self? And that is enlightenment. It's a very deep experience of self at an absolute level. That is, you can know your mind, you know how you think, you know how you might react in certain situations. You know things about yourself, and that's about the self. We'll call that the small s self. Um, but knowing the self, we'll call that the big S self, is a little different. That is knowing the eternal nature of you. And enlightenment is a self-awareness. There are, as I mentioned in another video, enlightenment can happen in a number of different levels, a number of different ways. The four primary questions that are used on the Enlightenment Intensive, which I'll talk about in another video, are who am I, what is life, and what is another? And so we contemplate these questions to have a breakthrough, to get through the mind, to have that deep eternal experience of something that is always true. And even though what is life and what is another, that is, what is other than you, often considered other people, um, is just a means of getting to that self-awareness. It's still self-awareness. Um, so anyway, the main thing here, though, is that it is an eternal experience. It is something that is beyond question. It is beyond doubt. Um, Maybe if I give you an example of my own enlightenment experience, the first one I had, I was taking enlightenment intensives. Got rather fanatical about them. I was very young. I think I was 19 or 20 when I started taking them, and I really liked the introspection. I liked how it made me look at myself, how it made me understand myself, and so I kept taking them. And I wasn't having these enlightenment experiences. I wasn't having that deep experience, but the the path, the progress was so satisfying to me that I just kept going. And I ended up taking 5 intensives. It was my fifth intensive when I finally had my enlightenment experience. And I'd also staffed too, which you actually get a little more out of it from staffing them than you do taking them in certain ways. So, but it was worth it though, because I actually ended up having 4 experiences on that intensive. So that was made it all worthwhile. And as I've said, it was worthwhile anyway, because I just loved doing that. I loved the self-realization of knowing me. So anyway, I was contemplating what am I, and so here I was. I was looking at myself, and I bent over to take a drink out of a water fountain, and I took the drink, and I suddenly realized that, wait a minute, here I am trying to directly experience me. And, that's just the same thing. And it was just so simple and just so obvious and just so core and just so absolutely true that I didn't realize that that was the experience. I, I stood up, and a very good friend of mine was standing about 4 feet away from me, looking right at me. She was staffing the intensive. She was looking right at me. I looked her right in the eye, and she said she just got it. I mean, she was just boom. I don't remember. I don't remember seeing her at all. It was just a complete. I was just completely not there. I was there, and so anyway, it's that incredibly deep experience of self, as I said, where there is no separation between the one contemplating and that which one is contemplating. So that lack of separation, that no gap, that deep clarity, it's a change in state of consciousness. It's not just a change in consciousness. You go from sleep to awake. That's a change in consciousness. But you go from a change in state of consciousness. You're at one state here, and the next thing you know, in an instant, in a timeless instant, you're at a completely different state of consciousness. And it doesn't have to be up here. It can be just over here. It can be anything. Whatever it is, it's unique to you when you have this experience, but it is eternal. It is an eternal experience that is experienced in a very similar fashion by everyone that has one of these experiences. It's very universal in that way. You can read scripture and people will say the same thing over and over. They'll say it in different words, but it'll be the same thing. So I won't go into the words. The words don't matter. I mean, it's important to communicate the experience once you've had it, to get that across to another so that it solidifies the experience. It roots it into something. It makes it, it is permanent already, but it makes it something that is deeply rooted, something that's easily accessible once you've communicated it fully to someone. So anyway, I spent the rest of the intensive communicating my experiences because, as I said, I had 4, and I spent all this time just communicating it. When I first started, the energy started flowing. My body went totally erect, and the energy was just running up my spine. I looked down at my hands, and they were in some mudra, and all these things were happening, and it was just like I was in a totally different place. And what that is, that part of the experience, the part that people get blown away by, like my friend, or anybody that I communicated it to was able to get it. You get that when somebody has an experience and they transmit it to you, you get it on a level that is incomprehensible. You understand, you fully get them when they get it across to such a degree that they can't deny that you've had that experience as well. Even my grandmother, my staunch Catholic grandmother, I, I communicated my experience to her at one point, and she actually told me, well, maybe you can get to heaven your way too. This is a Catholic of all Catholics, my grandmother. She said that. It was probably the greatest acknowledgement I ever had. So anyway, when you get that deeply experienced, and that communication is what is called the after experience. In Sanskrit, the word for enlightenment is actually after experience, because it's not something that happens in time. It happens out of time. There is no time. There's no you. There's no me. There's no separation. So anyway, that is sort of communicating what an enlightenment experience is. I'll probably do another video or 2 on this subject because it is very difficult to get it across. When I'm giving an enlightenment intensive, I spend quite a bit of time talking about that and what an enlightenment experience is. So there is a lot more to say about it, but that's enough for now. And I highly encourage you to contemplate yourself, to take a moment throughout your day. Just stop, get present with yourself, introspect, take a look at yourself. And if you're having a bad day or a good day, look at who is that that's having that experience. Who is it that's hearing this sound over here or this voice over there, or who's feeling the sensations of sitting in the chair or lying in the bed or walking. And just contemplate, just take time to contemplate who that is, or if you'd rather, what am I? What am I that I experience that? As I mentioned in one of the other videos, a lot of people these days have an experience of who they are. It's much more common than it was when I started taking intensives 40 or so years ago. At least in my experience, I've seen people and talked to them, and wow, they know who they are. But they don't necessarily have all the depth. There's many different levels of enlightenment. So even if you are enlightened, even if you've had some deep experience, go for the next level. There are more. There are many levels. So just keep introspecting, keep reflecting on the self. If you'd like to, introspect on life, on others. What is that other walking along over there? whatever your experience is in the moment, contemplate what is that? What is the truth of that self here in that? And that little bit, just a little bit at a time, a little bit. And in Enlightenment Intensive, we do it in 3 days. And I forget the percentages, but it's really high. If you take 3 intensives, the rate of having a direct experience like that is in somewhere in the 80 to 90 percentile range. So if you take enough Enlightenment Intensives, you will have that experience eventually. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll set you up with where one might be, and you can try that. So anyway, that's enlightenment. Let's thank you and thank all that is for the enlightenment that is available, for the enlightenment I've had, and for the enlightenment that I know you'll experience as well. So thank you. Have a great day.
There are a lot more videos like this coming out over the next few months and years on yoga, yoga philosophy, spirituality, meditation, and more. But I can't do this without your help. Would you consider donating to help defer the costs? It would be greatly appreciated. And you can subscribe to Kalidasa.com so you know when anything new comes out. Links are below. My name is Kalidas, a longtime yogi and yoga teacher, and now I am presenting some of what I have learned over the last few decades. My desire here is for you to find value in your life. And please ask questions and give comments. They help inspire what to present. Thank you and have a great day.